Hello, hello, hello. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good.
Good.
Last week of softball. So,
Hooray!
yes and no. So I have a
Yeah.
senior, and we were talking ahead of time, and yeah, I've been really good up until this point. So she's graduating in May, and she's going off to college. Not me, not we. She. And we started talking about it's expensive to go and live out on your own because the coach asked me, what does she need? And it was like, well, she needs everything. I mean, she needs Q-tips and toilet paper. And, it's like thinking of all these things when you first move out,
Yeah.
moving into a dorm. So,
hmm
what's your experience been around college and all of that?
So I did move away when I went to college. Now, granted, my college was only about 30, 45 minutes from home, but I wanted to live on campus and be
Mhm.
like my own independent person for a little bit. So I moved into a dorm on campus, and even though they give you the furniture and like the mattress and stuff, it was still very expensive to bring the linens and all of the other like things that you needed to make the dorm your own. But then also it gets very expensive once you start going to college and paying for books and supplies and all of that stuff. So, yes, if it was expensive, I don't even want to say how many years ago I went to college, then I'm sure it's even more expensive now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the key here is when our kids were born, we started their college fund.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of mapped it out with a financial professional, and it really wasn't a lot that we had to put aside.
Mm-hmm.
And we started right when they were born. We did the same thing for vehicles. So I had a savings account that automatically, I think I withdrew $20 a paycheck because I knew I had 16 years and we were able to pay. It was weird, but we were able to pay cash for both of the vehicles that we purchased because I have two kids.
Mm-hmm.
And even with COVID, and we thought we were going to have to do used, but we ended up with new because COVID, and it was a very strange period. But so even if you have kids that aren't babies anymore, now's the time because it is very expensive.
Yeah,
Very expensive.
absolutely.
And then just thinking about moving into a dorm, it's like, wow, I really haven't sat and thought about that and until this coach asked me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think it's really important for parents to consider as their kids are starting to graduate and move away is, do they have the proper financial education to now be on their own
Yeah.
and to make the right financial decisions? One thing that came up that I know was a thing when I was in college was the like credit card companies used to be able to be on campus and incentivize college students for opening up credit cards. They would give them swag and all this other stuff and say, yeah, you're an adult now. You get to open a credit card and establish your credit and use it however you want. And a lot of kids of my generation got into debt pretty quickly because they weren't taught what it meant to open a credit card, what your responsibilities are, how it's not free money that you're swiping and whatever else. So yeah, then you have to start thinking about what are some of those things they need to understand as they are now living on their own that ensures they're making smart financial decisions and saving for future things.
Yeah. And so you don't get a credit card bill that because you send them off with a credit card and you get that bill and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened?
You spent what on what?
Yeah. Wait, how many tattoos did y'all get? Wait, what? Right. So something that we did, just as an FYI, is when my kids started driving, it was here is a credit card. We pay for 1 gallon or 1 gallon. I wish 1 one tank of gas a week because we will get you to and from school. We will pay for that. Anything else is yours. And every month I sit down and I'm like, okay, here's what you charged, and this is what you owe me. And I got a lot of resistance at first. And it was like, no, no, no. You owe me this. Oh, you don't have the money. Well, here's how you can earn the money. So we've been doing this since they were 16. And also, if they ever got in a position where they were running out of gas, I didn't want them to run out of gas. I wanted to go ahead and get gas. It had a lot of that to do with it as well. So that's how we kind of introduced credit cards to our kids.
Smart. And you're also introducing the concept of bills to them too.
Yeah.
Because that is something that they're going to get introduced to in college. I remember I was on a on-campus dorm my first year. And then the last 3 years of college, I was living in apartments with roommates. But that also meant that we were responsible for paying rent and for paying the utilities and all of that other stuff. It wasn't just the dorm is getting paid by the parents or your, scholarship money or whatever is covering the cost. You're now responsible for paying those bills. So by you introducing the credit card to them and saying, okay, whatever you're putting on this, you're actually going to owe me. You're instilling that important situation to them so that they can be prepared for that when that time comes.
Yeah. And another thing that we also introduced our kids to was, here is your college fund. Here's what you have to spend. Now, if you don't spend it all, it's yours, because I didn't put it in a 529 because I didn't know, I didn't want to lock it up if they didn't go to college. Yes. Right. I mean, that was just me. You talk to your financial professional. I'm not saying anything bad about 529s. They're great. But for me, it didn't work. And so my daughter, knowing what she has in there, she's applied to every scholarship that she can get her hands on, even though she doesn't need to, because, we do have enough to get her through her first 4 years. She's like, but what if I want to get my master's? What if I want, and I'm like, that's on you. What if I want to buy a house when I'm done and use that money for that? Well, that's on you, And so we're looking at used books. We're looking at new books, understanding the cost. We're looking at how much this dorm costs versus this dorm. And so we're really sitting and looking, because it's her money that she's spending now.
Yeah.
And trying to get her to understand, this is either you can leave it alone or you can spend it all. It's up to you. So.
Yeah. And so I was very fortunate when I went to college that I didn't have to take out any student loans. I got enough scholarship and grant money to cover everything and then some, which was great. However, because I was not educated on money in college, whenever I would look at my account that was at the college with my card, and it would say, this is how much you have to spend this semester, and I've already gotten my books and my office supplies and whatever else, and there was just a bunch of money left, I was not responsible with that money. I was buying a bunch of random crap with it and not being smart in saving an emergency fund or investing it. While I was working a job, I was eligible to invest into a Roth IRA or, other kind of stuff. And I could have used that extra money to start saving up for retirement right away.
Right.
But I was on my own and I was like, oh, I've got all this money. I can spend it on stuff. And unfortunately, that can set people back quite a bit if they don't start those really important foundational habits to, in the beginning.
Yeah. And I went to school at night. I worked during the day. I had to put myself through school, which was great. I worked during the day and went to school at night, and I went slower so I could afford it. So I just want to mention to those of you that maybe don't have a college fund set up, there are other ways of going to college other than taking out a loan. I mean, you can find jobs that have like education benefits, that if you go to school and make at least a C, you get paid back anything related to the job. That's what I did. I found an accounting job that paid for my accounting classes and all the administration costs. And then I put in my other required classes where I just had to pay for the class itself. So there are lots of ways of doing it. Of course, saving ahead of time is ideal, but
Sure.
not everybody's in that position. Perfectly fine. And yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about go have fun, but we also need to make sure there's a little bit left over in case the car breaks down or so. Thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah, it's just good to be prepared and to, again, those financial habits that we're instilling in adults, building an emergency fund, saving for goals, both short term, long term, saving for retirement, all of that stuff. Most of us don't get started on that until we're out of college and in our first career. That's when we get introduced to a 401k. That's when we get introduced to like a lot of different concepts. But you don't have to wait until after college to start doing those things. By the time you're doing that throughout the college, time frame, by the time you're at your first job, you've already got some retirement money saved up. You've already got emergency fund, and you can just kind of go from there.
Yeah, you can coast a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, so if anybody has any advice on what to send kids to college, because I'm like, okay, do we send salt and pepper? Do we send plasticware, real silverware? Not real, of course, but silverware. It's like, are they really going to do dishes? Are they really going to, all of these
Right?
things.
Yeah.
Any advice anybody has, I'd love to get it because I am in the midst of sending one off to school.
And I have a free financial literacy book that I'd be happy to send to anyone's, college student, or send to you themselves to prepare kids for college, because it's never too early to learn about money, and they'll be reading a lot anyway. So what's a financial education book to add to it,
Right?
right?
Well, you need to send me that and I'll give it to her because,
Yes.
it's much easier to see. What does mom know? Right. I mean,
Right.
hearing it from somebody else is so much cooler than actually hearing it from mom.
Yep.
And I wanted to also extend a thank you to you because last week's Wednesday Wealth Wisdom really inspired me. And I set up a public community in LinkedIn. We're going to give it a try. And it's called Moms, which stands for Moms Overcoming Money Stress. And we're going to make it just an open conversation. This is the new spot for all of us to hang out and talk money, ask money questions, maybe have some challenges throughout. I just want to make a fun, safe place for us women, moms, whatever, to hang out in and ask some questions, really learn. So when we're sitting around with the men, we can go, yeah, but have you heard this investment tip? Right?
Yep. Yeah. We definitely need as many communities, either virtual or in person, as possible to allow women to come together, talk about money, ask questions, and learn more.
Yeah. And also to hang out as we get kids launched off to college. That
Yeah,
we need that as well.
totally.
Yeah. Well, we made
Well,
it through the eclipse,
yep,
tax season, and now we're heading into summer. So lots more to talk about as we get closer and closer.
absolutely. We're still here.
Yes. Yeah. We're still here. We made it. So that's really all I had was to cry about college and ask for some help and let everybody know about our group or, the group that's out there on LinkedIn. I also have one on Facebook. That one's been around for a while.
Awesome. Well, thank you for setting that up. I know that's going to be a really popular place for women to come together.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, until next week, guys, same time, same place.
See you later.
Bye.